Hey friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and since I had to change my strings today, I thought that Charlie and I would give you a little tutorial in how to do that, in case it's something that's intimidated you. You know, changing strings is just as important as tuning up your instrument. It's something simple that you should be able to do yourself, so take 5 minutes to learn. Now there's different bridges on ukuleles. I have a slot style bridge, so if you have a tie style bridge, this won't help you out too much. I find the slots much easier anyway. So first things first is we have to remove the old strings. I prefer to take one off at a time, and that just makes it a little bit easier. And really, this is kind of a habit that I have from playing archtop guitar and banjo, where we don't have a bridge that's glued down, it's movable. So in those cases, you really want to do it. You're free to take off all of them at once if you would like. I just prefer to do it this way. So I take the G string off first. Doesn't matter. All you're gonna do is down tune it until you can just slip it right off the peg like that. Bring it on off, and you give that string to the cat. Good boy, Charlie. So I'm putting Worth Browns on here, and they're individually packaged, which is nice. So it tells me that this is the fourth string, the G string that I'm putting on. We'll also give the package to Charlie. So with these slot style bridges, what happens is that it gets just caught in this slot back here. So what we need to do is just tie normal little knot in the string, just a little half knot like this. Nothing fancy. Pull that tight. I like to use my fingers, pull it real tight. I just take a pair of scissors and cut it off so there's just a little tail left. We don't want too much on there really. And this knot will tighten up as we pull on the string as well. Thank you, Charlie. Always have an assistant handy. So as we put this string on, I do something that not everyone does, which is after I put it in the hole here, pull it tight. And you don't need to use the whole string. That's the thing. We don't want a million wraps around the post. That just puts extra stress on the tuner itself. So I mean, you can see where I'm at. That's about as much string as I need. What I do, since I use fluorocarbon strings, you might not be able to do this with nyla guts because they're a bit thicker, is to actually loop it through the hole again, which is just going to keep it right where it is. Again, don't have to do that. Thank you, Charlie. And then as we do this, I hold it down with my first finger because we want the winding to be at the bottom of the post so it's pulling down across the nut, creating a nice break angle. So as we put it down like that, just tune her on up. Make sure it's in the nut. So I'll just tune it against the A string. Just gets close to pitch. Get it close to pitch, and I'm just gonna grab my tuner over here while Charlie holds down the fort. I just use this little app on my phone. I like to tune up as I go. So I'm already. I'm just about at a G already. So once I get to pitch, it's not gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna take this whole string and I'm gonna wiggle it like this because what I'm doing is stretching out the string. It's one of the reasons it takes so long for us to get these to stay in tune is the string continually stretches under tension. So I'm just gonna pull on it a little bit. We'll see it's now down a half step from where it was. And that's fine. So now we're gonna move on to the next string. Take the C string off. Again, order doesn't matter whatsoever. It's one of those places where I really love having friction tuners because they're just a lot easier to get the string off and on as opposed to geared tuners. We got to turn it a million times. Again, take string, give to cat. Take your C string. We just repeat the same process over and over. Tie that little knot. Boot-doot-dee. You know the rules, Charlie. You can't have the string we're working with. Just clip off the little ends. We have a little bit left. Not too much. We don't want it sticking out and possibly vibrating against the face of our instrument. So put the C string in and repeat that whole process. through the hole. If you want to do that extra loop, go for it. Especially on the C string if you're playing thicker strings. You might not be able to do this, and you don't need to. It'll stay in place with the tension. I'm just always paranoid about them slipping off a little bit. Do that, and again, hold the string down towards the face so it winds from the bottom up. That's really important to keep that break angle there. And we're going to tune that on up. Up to a C. And then again, stretch it. While we're there, stretch that G string again. We'll retune that as we go. Alright, so then we'll tune up the G string again. Tune up our C string again. Now notice that my C string's slipping a bit more than it should. Excuse me, Charlie, I need to reach under you to get this other tool that we have. Hold Charlie, get the screwdriver. If you have friction tuners, there's these little screws in the back. This is a great time to tighten them up. That's going to make your life a lot easier. They'll hold tune better. And as we play, they just kind of shake loose a little bit. So you got to tighten these up from time to time. I always keep a screwdriver in my case, just in case. No pun intended. So a nice C. Bring that E string on, off. Do-do-dee. Don't worry, Charlie. Get a new string in a second. String, cat. E string. Should beat the process. Make your little loop. Tie it tight. Clip the end so we don't have too much. Put it in the bridge. Slides right in there. And then just wrap it around the tuner. And again, I always stress, make sure you're not getting too many wraps around the tuner. It's really easy just to get, the entire tuner engaged in this, but you really only need 2 to 3 wraps. So tune up that E string. Pretty much there, and then stretch out all your strings again. Just keep doing that process because they're gonna keep stretching, so you might as well help them along as we tune up the instrument. Then retune the whole thing. And you don't need to get it perfect while you're tuning it up this first little step. We'll work on that in a second. Just get it kind of close. We want to get those strings used to the tension that they need to be at. So then we do the last one. Take that A string off. Do-do-dee. Don't fall, Charlie. This one's fighting me a little bit to get out, which is okay. That notch just in there a little tight is all, so sometimes we gotta wiggle it a little bit, that's all. I know what happens for me is that sometimes the A string I need to put a second loop on. So sometimes it takes a second to come out, and as I look at it, there's 2 knots on this A string here because it's such a thin string. Sometimes with slot styles you need 2 knots on there instead of 1 for the A string. And that's why it was kind of caught up in there a bit. So I'm going to tie this knot here. I'm going to try it with 1 half knot instead of the 2 that I had previously. See if it's in a good mood today. We'll see, it might just slip right out as we put it in, which we want to avoid. And you see that? As I pull it, it comes out. So if it's coming out of a slot style bridge, just tie a second knot, make it a little bigger. That's all we need. Takes a moment. Charlie, not the new strings, my friend. Not the new strings. That's why we give you the old ones. And come along and do our usual song and dance here. You see this string's a little bit shorter because with the browns you actually get 2 out of each set. So I cut them in half, and the A string's a little bit shorter than the other ones, but no big deal. We'll get it through here. Thank you for eyeing that up, Charlie. I greatly appreciate it. See, it's not a perfect instrument. There we go. Got it through the loop there. Just takes a second. Have patience. I certainly don't. You see the string came out. It happens on slot styles sometimes. I'm even going to make a third little loop on this. Just make that loop a little bit bigger, that knot, and make sure it stays in. That's all. There we go. Again, hold the string down. Make sure it's winding from the bottom. We'll see, it might happen again. If it pops out again, that's okay. It happens. Just make the knot a little bigger. Common problem on slot styles, it's not a big deal. More knots, more knots. This actually keeps slipping off the end while I'm doing it. There we go. I think this time we might have the knot finally big enough it's not going to slip out of the bridge, which is it's a good feeling. Came out again. You see, we try to make these real-time videos, and sometimes things just don't like us. And that's alright. 15th time is the charm, that's what I always say. There we go, we have it. See, slips out a few times, that's okay. Sometimes we just need a couple extra knots in there, especially the A string. Again, not tuning it to perfect pitch yet, just pretty close. So what I'm going to do is just play it kind of hard. And then I'm going to go and individually stretch all those strings one last time, just to let them settle in a little bit. There we go. And now I'm going to tune it up so we're actually in tune. I was going to play for a second. And now we're going to see how out of tune it is. G's pretty close. C slips a little bit. C generally takes the longest to settle in. It's not too far off. So now that we're in tune, I'm going to play for about an hour, and I'm just going to keep retuning this so that it stays in tune. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you soon.